In the NBA, it's kind of crazy how fast fans can turn on you. And look, I'm not saying Kristaps hasn't done his share of things, but I mean, let's be real. At one point, I'm not going to say Kristaps was on top of the NBA, but this guy was loved and adored by nearly every NBA fan, or at least it felt that way, at least in my world. Kristaps Porzingis is a legit 7'2", 7'3". The guy is an absolute monster, even if he really doesn't always show it. This guy can shoot the lights out of the basketball, one of the best shooters at the big man position. Beyond being one of the best shooters at the big man position, and in why, I'd also say he was one of the best athletes at the big man position. Kristaps Porzingis could absolutely fly up and down the court. His versatility was off the charts, and he had a nice handle to go with it. Since coming to Dallas, Kristaps has bulked up, which, by the way, I like to say, absolutely unreal transformation by Kristaps Porzingis. Bulking up can be incredibly tough. Bulking up the right way can be even tougher. While I thought at the time that the bulk would help Kristaps, I'm not sure it did. While Kristaps is still a fluid athlete and a monster, the flashes of unreal athleticism are not as consistent as they once were, which honestly is understandable. This guy is 7'3". I'm impressed that he's even coordinated. Somewhere along the line, I feel like NBA fans became incredibly spoiled. 7'2" and 7'3" guys are not supposed to be doing things like this.
Shaved in on his head. Porzingis steps back, puts it on the floor, drives, and finishes. Kristaps Porzingis gets the crowd on its feet.
And Mark Cuban shouldn't be saying things like this. On the K&C Masterpiece show, Cuban said, Kristaps and Luka are fine on the court. I mean, coaches coach and coaches kind of run the show, so everything gets worked out on the court, but that's not to say that there aren't dust-ups, because there are. Cuban compared Kristaps and Luka to Jet and Dirk. Jet being Jason Terry. If you don't remember Jason Terry, he's the guy that absolutely locked down. I'm not even going to finish that statement. I'm just trolling. To touch back to the quote, when the Mavericks first got Jason Terry, Dirk was not a major fan. Dirk did not like him, and they lost a playoff series because Jason Terry made a mistake against Steve Nash, and that made things even worse. Cuban went on to say they weren't best friends at the beginning, but they grew to like each other and grew to be great friends. And that's just part of the process when you've got young kids who are growing up together. It took forever before Dirk and Jason Terry did anything off the court together. Cuban said KP and Luka get along just fine, but they are different people that like to do different things. So we're going to discuss this quote more in just a second, and we're going to have to talk about Kristaps' response. We have to talk about how cryptic Kristaps' response was, and more importantly, we have to talk about his growing frustration with the Dallas Mavericks organization, along with the major problem that the Dallas Mavericks have. But before we go any further, be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications, because you will not want to miss another Get Like Coop video. And that's facts. Guys, if you enjoy my basketball content, you're going to love my podcast. The link to the Laced Up podcast is going to be in the description below. Also, my NFL channel is returning this week. The link is in the description below. Be on the lookout. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's talk hoops. Without a doubt, LUKA DONCIC is one of the best basketball players in the NBA. When I watch this guy, I'm just amazed, because he's not one of the most athletic players in the league, but he's easily one of the craftiest, and he uses every tool he has to his advantage. I know Luka has said LeBron's one of his favorite players. Well, I definitely get LeBron James type of vibes when I watch Luka play, and I'm not talking about the athleticism part. I'm talking about the way he's so good at using his body to get to where he wants to be on the basketball floor if he simply doesn't just blow by you. I think to this day, people don't understand exactly how effective of a slasher that LUKA Doncic is. And then don't get me started on the playmaking. Quick question. Say the whole NBA enters into a draft and you're picking first. You're a team, you're a GM. What player are you picking first to build around? Personally, I'm taking LUKA Doncic. And if the team that I surround Luka with don't become his best friends, that's fine. They don't have to be best friends off of the basketball court. But what has to happen is that they have to be willing to make things work on the court. That brings us back to Mark Cuban's quote. I don't think what Mark Cuban said was wrong. I can't say it's wrong at all because obviously I'm not in the Mavericks locker room. I'm not a part of that team. But it's a quote that I don't think that he should have said, because there are and were people that took this quote and ran. I remember people did the same with Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons, because these two weren't the best of friends. People tried to make it seem like they hated each other and didn't want to play with each other. And now, look at Joel Embiid, look at Ben Simmons, look at the Philadelphia 76ers. So about a month ago, Kristaps addressed the situation between him and Luka, and this is what he had to say. I've never had any problems with my teammates off the court. I've always gotten along with them very well. I don't know what Cuban was talking about. I try to be as professional as possible, do what I have to do, and be a soldier for the team. Now, the first thing that stood out to me is that it appears that Kristaps is 150% over this whole situation. It seems like he's tired of getting asked about it. You guys remember when Kyrie was tired of getting asked about LeBron? You know what? I'm just in like a troll mood today. But seriously, I saw some other people's responses to Kristaps' response, and their response was pretty negative. And while I would love for Kristaps to figure things out in Dallas and get going, I think there's this reality that we may see Kristaps in another uniform very soon. Today a report came out that Porzingis has been frustrated, often feeling more like an afterthought than a co-star as Doncic dominates the ball and the spotlight. Now, if this report is true, and I'm going to put a major emphasis on if the report is true, there's a possibility that the Mavericks could make Kristaps happy by attempting to feature him more. But the way I see this is that Kristaps is a little jealous of everything that Luka has done. Without a doubt, I personally think the Mavericks are the best when LUKA Doncic is doing his thing, and having a co-star or a player that's supposed to be a co-star that's somewhat envious of what Doncic is doing could be bad long term. If I'm Luka and I see this report, Luka could take this one of two ways. He could take this as, you know what, we're going to try to get you involved. You're right. I want you to play your best so we can be our best. Or Luka could see this, like I said, as Kristaps being jealous, and he could respond with, what have you done to earn more touches? Because at the end of the day, we see defenses key on Luka and completely commit to stopping Luka. And it's not like Luka is ball dominant, don't get me wrong, but if you're open, he's going to pass the ball. Luka wants help. It's not like he's seeking out a shot every play out of selfishness. He's just doing what he believes is best for the Mavericks to win the game. Against the Clippers, there were instances where Luka was gassed and he was looking for somebody to step up and to take the pressure off of him. If that somebody could have been Kristaps, who knows? Maybe the Clippers are going home right now and Luka and the Mavericks are advancing to the second round of the NBA playoffs. There's no way around it. In my opinion, Kristaps had a horrific series. And while Kristaps wasn't dominating touches, the guy is 7'3". He went against a Clippers small ball lineup whose tallest player was like 6'8", 6'9". Kristaps had opportunities to affect the game in other ways without scoring the basketball. Now, being somebody that's played basketball at a high level myself, I definitely do understand Kristaps' frustration. I talked about this a bit in my last video. It can be hard to get going as a spot-up player when you're used to being the guy. Now, I feel like we saw something like this kind of develop with Trae Young and John Collins earlier this season, but once the Hawks started to turn things around and Collins became more accepting of his role, all of that outside noise that we were hearing so much of was silenced. When it comes down to it, winning cures everything. Is it wild that Kristaps may want a bigger role when he's healthy? No, not at all. But that brings us to another topic. Kristaps has to find a way to get healthy. Kristaps' health is honestly one of the Mavericks' biggest problems. Right now, I truly don't believe that the Mavericks have a great roster. I feel like what they've accomplished this season is a major testament to how good LUKA DONCIC has been. Call me crazy, but if Kristaps plays this full season, I think there's a legit chance that the Mavericks are in the top 3 in the Western Conference. I wanted to say the 2 or the 1 seed, but I just feel like I would have got too much hate for that. So I'm just going to stick with I feel like they may have cracked the top 3. Hey man, you can call me wild, but it is what it is. Shot blockers, shooters, athletes like Kristaps Porzingis, players like Kristaps Porzingis don't come around very often. And I'm probably going to get a lot of hate for saying that because it's become popular to hate on Kristaps, but I really do think he's nice. What's also worth noting is that Paul George was frustrated with his role last season. We fast forward to this season, new coach, he looks a lot better. He looks a lot more comfortable with the ball in his hands. But the thing here is that Paul got a new coach. Rick's not going anywhere according to Cuban. This whole situation is a mess. How would you guys feel about Kristaps in Washington? Clicking the video on the screen right now is a great way to support my channel. I'm Get Like Who, bringing you guys the scoop until our next upload.